right, guys, so this is part 2 of your impressive evidence. So we're going to get into instrument and or tool marks. So in terms of tool mark evidence, basically tools that are used during a crime they definitely leave marks behind at a scene. And it's a way to prove a link between an object and the scene. And obviously it'll go a long way to hopefully establishing the owner of that particular object and their relation to the scene. So common instruments encountered fall into 2 different categories. We have cutting instruments, which the ones everybody knows about: knives, bolt cutters, drills. There are a lot of those in like bank robberies. Levering instruments such as screwdrivers. And obviously these instruments are going to suffer damage when they're used, and it's going to give them characteristic features which may leave behind a distinct impression. So here are some examples over here on the side where you can see some of the marks that were left by a tool, and then this is a close-up of some impressions that were left by a particular tool. So in terms of collection of tool mark evidence, so just like with tire treads and shoe prints, we actually can cast. It's a silicone rubber. It's actually known as Microsil. That's the, I guess, the company name for it. Basically, you're going to make a cast of the impression. If you take a look right here at this doorknob in this picture, this is an example of Microsil. It's like you spread it and then it turns into rubber when the chemical reaction happens in the rubber. And of course, you can use that in comparison with other impressions or instruments that can determine identification and determine which tool that was used. The only drawback is that when you cast it, you're going to have a negative impression of the original mark. So you need to make sure that if you have an instrument or a tool that may have been used, just make sure that you make a ton of test marks in a similar medium just so you can make an accurate comparison. Here is another example. We have a pair of pliers up here. This is the picture that was taken at the crime scene. It looks gruesomely like somebody pulled out 2 teeth. Well, those teeth are going to show marks, and you'll be able to pull it back to a particular instrument. What you're looking at here on the right-hand side is basically they're lining up the striations or the stria. And what you want to do is make sure that the stria match from one side to the other. So essentially, this is a view from a comparison microscope, where in one side they have the object that the impression was made on, and then on the other side they have a test impression that was made by the object that they think made it at the actual scene. So there are 2 different classifications for tool mark marks. Tool mark marks. I don't think I've ever said that before. So we have impressions, which happens when a tool hits a softer surface, and the shape of the tool and any kind of imperfections in the tool surface are going to leave behind an impression. And then of course we have scratches. So as you pull a tool across a particular surface, it may leave ridges or striations behind. So those are the 2 different types. Features to analyze in terms of tool marks. We're talking about the dimensions of the impression. We want to look at the ridges or the striation patterns. We're going to look for all sorts of defects, nicks, chips. Are there any paint chips, or is there anything that is left on the tool that didn't come from the tool, which may be a result of transfer? Told you, really short. Last one, we are into bite marks. So for bite marks, investigators can analyze bite marks for different characteristics to hopefully identify victims or suspects or to exclude others. All right, so the marks can be left on a victim's skin or other objects such as styrofoam cups, gum, foods. You would want to use dental records and x-rays to help provide some useful information when trying to attempt an identification. The pictures you see, obviously this is somebody's teeth. And then down here you have a representation bite mark that was either cast or made at the scene. And they're just going to do a comparison. So in terms of bite mark evidence, so bite marks can be used to identify perpetrators. Definitely Ted Bundy fell victim to this. You're going to look at a photographic study, and you're definitely going to enhance the image to try and compare to see if you can exclude or identify a suspect. Typically, these bite mark evidence is usually seen in rape, murder, child abuse, spousal abuse. Usually, these are things that happen or crimes that happen up close and personal. So over here on the right-hand side, we actually have a bite mark that somebody had on their leg. And then if you look, there's a cast of the mold. And then what they ended up doing was trying to enhance the picture to try and get an outline of the teeth. And then this is a bite mark that was made with the cast that we got from the suspect. In terms of features to analyze, there are 4 different things. You're going to want to know what type of bite mark it is, whether it's human or animal. You can tell that by the different types of teeth. When you guys do your bite mark lab or activity, we'll talk about how teeth grow and when you get your adult teeth and what types of teeth you have. Characteristics of teeth are going to be position, evidence of dental work, wear patterns, maybe if you have a chipped tooth or if you've had any kind of work done like a root canal. You're also going to want to look at the color of the area to estimate how long ago the bite mark happened. Is it old? Is it recent? And then, of course, you're going to want to swab body fluids for a DNA test. You're looking for saliva or anything that the suspect may have left behind. And that is the end of all of your impressive evidence. If you have any questions, please let me know, and hopefully that was helpful. Bye.